Welcome back, guys, to Tucked In Wizards. My name is Aidan, and I'm here with Ben.
Welcome back.
Got an exciting episode for you guys. First 5 Wizards games have gone by, so we're going to chat a bit about that. Going to talk about how some of the young guys have looked, talk about some of the reactions to their 2 good wins in Atlanta, and then just kind of take stock across the league, see who's doing some things we weren't expecting, either good or bad, see who's kind of going how we thought. But yeah, excited to get to it. We had a nice, exciting week of games behind us.
Yeah, I think we were both a little surprised that they're 2-3 at this point, even though the 2 wins did come against an injured Hawks too. But I did think they at least dropped one of those. Honestly, I thought they could possibly be 1-4, but with the win being in Miami, but they got kind of killed by the Heat, which for some reason was a Wizards home game. I don't really understand.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. It was in Mexico City. They were all cheering for the Heat. Like, at least let us have that. We're a bad team. Let us get one more home game than the Heat.
I know.
But I didn't mind it because it meant the Wizards commentators were on NBA TV. I like them. So, fine by me. But I remember talking before the season even started, and we were like, man, I'd be happy to come out 1-4 here if we beat one of the Hawks or the Heat or something. So I'm definitely happy to be 2-3. And the good thing is we weren't 2-3 with like Kuzma and the vets carried or whatever. Like, it was really all from the young guys, which I love to see.
Yeah, we saw a lot of Coulibaly and Sar dynamic duo in these 2 games. Honestly, 3 games. I would even say 4 if you count the Cavs. Obviously, it was a rough start to the season, but it was kind of like a figuring out game with the Celtics. There was like a 99% chance they were losing that game. And we had a pool party at the beginning of that game because it was really close for like the first half.
Yeah, I was just happy that we had a nice close game for a half. And like, my dad is a huge Celtics fan, and he was watching, and he's like, wow, the Wizards look really good this year. And like, you know, there's a direction we're finally going in that just feels good to have as a Wizards fan. It's been a long time since it's been like, you know, here's a rookie that's really good. Oh, our second-year player is developing really well. Wow, our defense with the young guys look really good. Like, it's been a really long time since we've had that.
We found out they were, 4th to last in defensive rating or something, and that's been, like, the best they've been over the past, couple of seasons.
That's, like, standard for when they were trying to compete. They were, like, 4th to last.
No, their defense was really good. But, I understand what you mean by trying to compete. The quotes
I was more
talking
about the Beal years.
Yeah.
Like the Wall Gortat years, we had great defense, but
Wall
was a great small ball guard.
Yeah, he was, because he got a lot of steals and he could really guard the perimeter. But it's really turning around for a lot of DC teams. Like, I feel like the last 2 years have been to horrible. And now we got the Commanders playing really well. The Wizards look like they have a direction. The Nats look like they have a direction. The Caps are in first place. So hopefully we'll see some DC fireworks over the next few years in terms of everyone being good.
Yeah, to me the most likely is the Commanders for sure. We talked about it. It's
crazy sentence.
Not inconceivable that they could win this year.
I know.
It's not likely, but it's possible, and that's crazy to say. It's not possible the Wizards win.
Yeah. Definitely was surprising too. But anyway, enough about that. I know it's Sunday, so we're in football mode a little bit.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the games that they went through.
Yeah.
We kind of covered the Celtics. I didn't really have too much more to say besides that I was happy that it was close. And the Cavs one, with the way the Cavs are looking, I'm not too surprised by that one. That was I think that was kind of a weird one, because that one, I feel like our players looked the worst, but they didn't look bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They've looked so good throughout these games that they looked kind of mid there, and I was like,
Yeah, Kuzma had a
second
stinker.
game, whatever. Kuzma's great.
No, he had a stinker in the Cavs game. He was 3 for 16.
Oh, that was the stinker? I couldn't remember.
You're thinking
if he was
of the
great
first
there
Hawks game.
Yeah, the first Hawks game, he was really good.
This Cavs game, for me, was okay, we're starting to see Bilal be aggressive. He had 2 shots in the Celtics game. He had 16 in this Cavs game. So it was clearly a point of emphasis to get him more shots. And we'll talk about Bilal a bit later as well, but, this guy looks like he could be something. And something is more than a role player.
Yeah, I try to keep my expectations low with the Wizards, of course, like anyone. So I was like, maybe Bilal has a nice year. I picked him last pick in the entire fantasy draft, so I was like, maybe he has a pretty good year. But the way he's been looking to start has been like I said to Ben, I haven't seen this from a Wizards rookie in a long time.
Yeah.
Where he doesn't just play well and look aggressive, he keeps trying every game. He is taking over in the fourth quarter. He's trying to take all these shots. He's trying to take on those big moments. And that was my main criticism of Rui, Denny, Kispert, was like, whenever these big moments came up, they would just always defer. And that was part of the team we were on with, like, okay, of course you're going to go with Beal. But I want to see some of that aggression, some of that, like, this is my time to take over and show what I can do, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really, really heartening to see that from Bilal. That was something I was really happy to see.
And what I like about Bilal, too, is it feels like him playing well can directly correlate to wins, which is something that we haven't really seen from, like, the Wizards' quote-unquote star the last couple of years. It's like they would play well and then it'd still be like... But when Bilal plays well, it feels like he's being very efficient. He's playing defense. And, like, you think, like, when I was watching it, I'll skip over these Hawks games and come back to them. The Heat game, they were down 20 or something, and Bilal started cooking a little bit. I was like, oh, maybe they could actually get back in this game, because, like, he would spark a run. And that's not something you'd see from, and I love Beal, but, like, those last couple of years of Beal in DC, it's be like, okay, he scores, and then the other team would score right away. And with Bilal, it's like, no, he might score, and then he might lock down the other guy at the other end. Same with Sarr.
Yeah, and he's such a versatile guy that, like, you can really stick him on a wide variety of people. He was just guarding Jimmy. He guarded Trey, both Hawks games, and did really well. He can cover the really small, shifty guys because he's really mobile. He can cover the big guys because he's strong and seems to know how to use that strength a bit better. And to me, the biggest thing is that, like, on the offensive end, he's really starting to see the floor in a different way. Like, the playmaking is really coming around for a guy that, like, I never really expected Bilal to be a playmaker.
Yeah.
Like, he's driving and kicking and making all these great open passes and stuff, and it's like, you know, really, like you said, it's early on, but it really makes me think what we could have here in a guy like Bilal.
Yeah,
which I never expected.
Not to glaze Tatum or Bilal here, but the way I see it, like, Bilal and Tatum, they kind of have obviously Tatum much better, probably will be much better than his career, but they have a similar path in, like, okay, like, the scoring and rebounding is kind of developing first, and then we'll see the playmaking develop later on in Bilal's career. And we're starting to see a little bit of flashes, but, I mean, he's definitely... I wouldn't say he's a playmaker yet.
No, I wouldn't say he's definitively like, oh, that's a playmaker. But at the same time, it's like, it's not something that's a weakness of his.
No.
So it's not something that's really taking away from his game. So it's like,
Agreed.
If as a wing, you're good enough to, like, oh, you can go and dunk, you can hit some open threes, and then you have enough foresight to, like, oh, while I'm driving, maybe I can't see the guy, but I know he's there, so let me pass it over to him. Like, that's pretty rare, honestly, especially from wings.
Yeah.
So it's really good to see that. It's just, like, from what I've seen from all the young guys, just the habits they're building are really, really good. Like, I keep seeing Bub, like, some of the shots he's not hitting don't look super good, but, like, his shot selection seems pretty good. I really like his defense. He's always looking out for steals. Like, all these little nuances of the game, these rookies are really getting good at.
Yeah.
It's cool to see them all develop kind of differently.
The stat in the Heat game, yeah, he had 4 points in the Heat game. He shot horrible. He was 2 for 9, but he had 8 assists, 4 steals, and no turnovers, which is a good sign for a rookie. Like, that's very rare. That's like Tyus Jones-esque.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, he hasn't been exploding for all the scoring like I kind of saw in Summer League and all this stuff. But he looks poised. The assists are good. Him and Sarr developing a two-man game. Like, all the little things look good. Yeah. And if all the little things look good, all the big stuff will come later.
Exactly. And it's kind of, that's kind of the highlight. And, well, going back to Bilal, we were watching the Heat game, and I remember, was it Keyshawn George or Corey Kispert? They were doing something, and they screwed up, and they were like, late in the shot clock, I got to just kick it to, like, Bilal, and he'll make something happen.
Yes.
And then he did. And that happened, like, a few times.
Yeah, I remember the play I think you're thinking about, because, you know, you specifically mentioned that. It was, like complete breakdown. Like, a similar thing where we'd give it to Beal, and he'd cook, but, like, Beal was... He was good in those situations, for sure. He was very good in those situations, but, like, he was a different type of scorer. He was shiftier, like, more, like, playing off what the opponent's doing, where Bilal was like, I don't give a fuck what you're going to do, I'm just going to dunk on you.
Yeah. Gets the rim.
Obviously, they're different builds, different players, so, like, that's why he's able to do that. And I think that's why wings are becoming so valuable in today's NBA, because they're so versatile. They can do so many different little things.
Yeah.
In a way that, like, you know, just because of their height, guards can't really get to do.
Yeah. And Bilal grew in the offseason as well, so maybe that'll continue. I'm going to Alex. No, okay. Sorry,
real quick. I just wanted to say, speaking of growing, I saw Keyshawn George say he grew from 6'6" to 6'8" recently,
that seems
and then he says he got scanned. I didn't know this was a thing. He can see that his growth plates are still open, and they're anticipating him growing till 6'10". Off of he got some X-ray that showed him that oh, you are still growing. I didn't know
Bilal should take that too. I want to see what that. That's kind of a crazy thing that they have.
Yeah, because I saw that, and all these reporters were like, "This is a thing." Even non-Wizards reporters are like, "I did not know you could do that." And, just to see if you were still growing.
That seems like that's probably going to be used a lot more.
Yeah, it seems like kind of a new
for
thing.
the NBA specifically. That seems like a very important NBA thing.
Which to me, that shows hey, the Wizards are on the cutting edge of this stuff now. We're actually doing stuff where teams are like, oh wow,
yeah, I didn't know you could
check
do that.
out that specialist.
Yeah.
It's that's never happened before in my memory.
What is funny too about Keyshawn George is I remember doing the draft video, and Sar and George were the two guys that I really wanted the Wizards to take. And usually when I really want the Wizards to take something, I'm wrong. But
yeah, I
don't know. It seems like they both look pretty good, especially if he's gonna grow to 6'10". I mean, he's got not wing handles, but he's no slouch with the ball either.
No, and for a late first round pick, just being a good rotation guy is totally fine. Even a guy who can be a rotation guy, not even
exactly.
Good. I think with the top of the draft, Sar, it's I wanted the Wizards to take Sar too, but there wasn't much else we could fuck up there.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to make that pick when you're there instead of 8 or 9 and you're looking at Johnny Davis and Alperen Şengün.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, the Johnny Davis over Jalen Williams was rough, but Kispert over Şengün.
Yeah.
Alex Sar, though, speaking of him, he's had some good games, and obviously the offense is. I mean, Sar is pretty much exactly what I expected him to be.
Yep.
Right away, I'm not. I mean, this dude, what is he, third in the league in blocks? He's a threat. I remember Alec Burks came in. I mean, Alec Burks came in and torched us that game, but he came in and he drove into the paint, and Sar was there, and I'd never seen a man look more scared to shoot the ball watching basketball than he was right there against Sar, and he had to pass out.
Real quick before I really get into Sar, I just want to just read out his block numbers per game. Celtics 2, Cavs 2, Hawks first game 2, Hawks second game 4. Last night against the Heat, I think it was also 4.
4. Yeah.
So it's just going up and up and up. He hasn't had a game with less than 2 blocks yet. 5 games. It's the furthest of the youngest Wizards player to have that block stat. The offense to me is even a little ahead of where I was.
It was good last game. I was
expecting it he was really good last game, especially after Summer League. I was like, okay, we really got to take a step back, and he's gonna average 4 points.
Yeah.
And, it's gonna be rough. He's averaging 10 points or something.
Which is kind of what he was doing in the Australian League.
Yeah. So if he can, I think so. Yeah. And he really he's one of those players where surrounding him with better caliber players really makes him look so much better.
Oh yeah. Having Poole in and Bub, I know he had Bub during the Summer League, but Poole's too as a playmaker for him is, oh my god, he's looked so much better.
Yeah, having Poole as the playmaker and just having this defense where okay, we're actually trying to because the Summer League was okay, we're just trying some shit out, just throw him out there, see if you can defend against everyone. And this is okay, we have a set defense, we have a plan, we have rotations, we know who's going where. It's clearly organized way more than we've seen from a Wizards team in a while. And in there, he can really play that AD, JJJ role where he just kind of sits there and can hunt blocks, can just block or deter people from scoring on us in the inside. And having Val there makes it so he doesn't have to get those offensive rebound putbacks because Val can just do that for him.
And even Keyshawn George has been an excellent rebounder up to this point. And Kyle Kuzma when he comes back from his injury, because he's obviously suffering a little bit of an injury. It kind of sucks because he seemed like he was turning it around from the first 2 games when he got that injury, but
it does suck. But it's a bit of a mixed bag because it's it sucks, but at the same time, last game, Coulibaly got 12 shots, Sar got 11 shots, Bub got 9, Keyshawn George got 9.
Yeah.
Does that happen with Kuz? Maybe, maybe not. It's hard to tell. But it just gives these increased opportunities to players in a year. We don't really care if Kuz goes off and we win 3 more games, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to us. But it would be nice for him to go off so we could trade him at the trade deadline.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys who were kind of looking for some trade deadline. I know Kispert's one of them who had a horrid game against the Heat. He was 1 for 10, 0-6. Who are the other guys? It's Brogdon who hasn't played. Johnny Davis, I would say he got his trade value up last game. 9 points, 5 shots, 7 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 assist. Like, he actually looked decent. And Johnny Davis has these games where he actually does look like he could have, like, a rotational spot. And then he looks other games that he just has no idea what he's doing.
Yeah, there were moments in that game, too. Like, the stats look good. And then you watch the game and he, like... There's just stuff he does that you're like, what? Like, he fell over and just, like, passed the ball to the Heat? Like, literally threw it at him? I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like, there's just some shit he does that just doesn't make any
That shot
sense.
where he, like, I don't know, where he, like, caught it under the basket and then, like, laid it up but, like, flailed around like crazy. That was really funny.
Yeah, that was so funny. He did, like, the Elon Musk X jump. Like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Just lay it up. And then there was, like, Brogdon and
Val. Like, those make sense. It's like the vets.
Sense, yeah, just all the vets.
Marvin Bagley
I think this team's a little further ahead
himself
than the front office might have thought. So they want to kind of clear some of these guys out so we can really get these young guys a lot of reps. Because it's clear, like, I think Val was like, okay, Alex Sarma might legit need to go to the G League for a little bit this year. We need someone that can, like, cover for him up here. Let's get Val. And, like, now it's like, okay, well, Sar's far enough along that, like, do we really need Val the whole year? It's nice to have him for half a year and show him the ropes, and then he can...
I also always think they were going to trade Val pretty much no matter what.
Yeah, I agree. Like, long-term, nice contract deal, that's always a trade. Which, like, to me, it's like, hey, we got a free agent that we're going to trade for maybe a second. It's a free second for us.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of teams that could use a good center right now. Like, I think he could go to a lot of places. Like, I think back to... He was at New Orleans at one point, right?
Yeah, they need a center. Although, I have to say, New Orleans, Yves Missy looks really good.
Yves Missy does look very, very good. I was really impressed with him last night.
So, I don't know if they're going to be super in the market. Yeah, I don't know many trade options for Val. You want to talk about these Hawks games, though, real quick?
Yeah.
Because we have 2 of them. We can start with the first one where they won by 2 points. Kuz had 25 this game. Poole had 26. Jordan Poole, by the way, I said this to Aidan like a couple of days ago, but we know we're true Wizards sickos because we drafted the 2 best Wizards players in fantasy because I had Poole and he has Coulibaly.
Yeah.
Poole has been on another level to start the year. He's shooting like over 50% from 3. Obviously, it's not sustainable, but I mean, it's fun to see the Poole party is back, and he's like assisting. He looks way, way better than last year, and even his last year with the Warriors. I wonder what could have possibly caused him to be so bad with the Warriors that last year. We'll never know.
Yeah, he's shooting 51. His free throw shooting went down to 51%, which is crazy. It was at like 63 before the Heat game or some shit. And he's averaging like 22 points a game, 5.5 assists, 2.8 steals a game, which is nice.
I know, this is the Poole we wanted to see when we... This is the Poole that got me... Like, this is why I was excited to make the trade for Poole for Beal. Because I was like, I mean, it's just Beal, but, like, younger. Which was a crazy take at the time, but...
Maybe he never turns into that Beal-type player, like Beal-type player. But... You know, he's not as bad as people thought. And I was very wary of people last year that were like, oh, he's going to win the scoring title. The Wizards are going to win 30 games beyond Poole. It's like, no.
Yeah.
It's going to be an adjustment. He went from the third option to the first option. And he was the first option sometimes with Curry, but, like, it's very different.
Not only that,
first option because of an injury versus, like, the whole time.
Exactly. And you're going from a very, very good offensive system in the Warriors that, I mean, we see Buddy Hield now. He basically stepped into that Klay Thompson role and is averaging over 20 a game. And then you take it from that situation to a situation with the Wizards where it's like they got Poole and Kuzma. It's like a brand new head coach. They haven't really developed anything yet. Like, there was no way he's not put in a position to succeed, whereas this year he's in more of a position to succeed because there's more of a structure to this offense.
Yeah, there was also last year, I think some things, like one thing that people really brush under the rug is the Wes Unseld thing, where I don't think he was really doing anything at all. Because when Keefe came over, like, immediately all these players were like, oh my god, we know where we're supposed to be on defense. Like, it was glowing reviews immediately.
Yeah.
And it's like, what
kind
was
of
Wes Unseld doing for that to be the reaction? So I think that's also a bit of it, with like a full year behind Keefe. Like, our offense looks smoother, our defense looks smoother. Everything just looks like our players know what they're supposed to be doing, which was the big criticism I always had with Wes Unseld, Scott Brooks, like our coaches for a while. Like, they didn't really know what
pretty
our
much after
really
Randy
wanted
Whitman
to do.
was, and the coaches for the Wizards had just stayed with the Wizards for way too long. But that's a whole other thing. We're in a different era now. You can forget about the past. Actually, don't forget about the past, so you don't lose whatever it's called. Very close game though. At the end of the game, there was a play where Sarr had the ball and the Hawks didn't foul him, and then Poole got the ball and got fouled. Very interesting play from the Hawks, but Wizards really they pulled out a close game, which for a team of rookies it was pretty good, because that final five out there was Sarr, Bub wasn't out there. It was Sarr, George, Coulibaly. So
yeah,
very good to pull that game out.
Yeah, and this was like a worse game for Sarr. He was minus 11 plus minus 7 points, 9 rebounds on 11 shots, 5 threes, only hit 1. Like, that's not great. 4 fouls, a turnover. But the eye test was showing that, like, he was anchoring the defense. Like, he was locking people down big. There was one sequence late where it was like Keyshawn George locked his guy down, where he passed over to Bilal's guy, and Bilal locks down Trey. Trey passes to Clint Capella to try and get a dunk, and Sarr locks down Clint to, like,
it was like a defensive,
like, really late.
Yeah.
Which I haven't seen in a long time from the Wizards period, let alone the Wizards young guys.
And Coulibaly's defense on Trey during that last possession as well.
I mean, the whole game, really. Trey had to work. Like, the first game he struggled. The second game he went off. He, like, went insane.
Yeah, Trey was
But he really had to work for that in the second game too. That wasn't easy. He had a ton of shots. Bilal was really hounding him. It's just Trey. Trey can do crazy things. That's the big thing to me too, is that, like, Bilal is legitimately a threat on defense now. Like, and on offense, because last game, him and Jimmy Butler were covering each other. Like, if Jimmy Butler is covering my young, promising guy, that to me is
that's
really
good.
Good sign.
That's a good sign. And Bilal had a great game last game too. I wish he took a little bit more shots. He only had 12 shots, but he scored 22 points. He did have 4 fouls, which hindered a little bit, but I didn't realize he was foul out.
He's a little timid with the shot selection. I agree. Where, like,
that's stuff that
I feel like a lot of his shots are kind of saving the possession, which is good. That's what I want to see. But, like, he'll come in and, like, get an offensive rebound and a putback, and, like, with a lot of, like, just putting a lot of effort in, which is good. But, like, I want to see, like, they were doing it in the second Hawks game, like, point Bilal. Like, they just gave Bilal the ball and were like, figure it out. Yeah. And he was making plays.
Or it was like a set play to get Bilal open with the ball in space to make a play, whether it be a jump shot or a pass or something.
Yeah. But I was surprised because Bilal looked comfortable. He was bringing the ball up. He was passing. Like, he was really the point guard in that situation. Because I think Bub was out there, but they had him in more of a shooting guard role.
Yeah, and I think they had Poole coming off screens as well.
Yeah.
Because which, if you have a 60% 3-point shooter, bring him off the screen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is so heartening to see coaches making set plays like that, to get, like, with purpose. Yeah. Like, we're going to get this set play. Poole or Bilal is going to get open. That's a good shot for us. Yeah. Like, it's so good to see finally, like, real plays happening.
I know. Or
like, they're doing horns and shit. Like, it's a real NBA team finally.
I know. The end of this Heat game, and then we'll kind of move on, I guess, to kind of around the NBA, because we talked about a lot of Wizards. Patrick Baldwin came in and hit 2 threes, so I'm curious to see if he gets any minutes against the Warriors coming up, because I know that's a dude who might also try to get some trade value on.
Yeah, I think Patrick Baldwin they might have given up a bit on, because he's not
really getting minutes. Yeah,
Johnny
Marvin
Davis,
Bagley too hasn't really carved a spot in the rotation.
He's not really older. He's younger than Johnny Davis.
But
I think they recognize that Johnny Davis has more upsides that a team would want. Where, like, PB&J can shoot, but
I think Johnny Davis. I don't think he's gonna have a long, fruitful NBA career, but he's gonna find a spot where he can get some minutes in this role. I think. But I don't know. He could just be traded waived and then we'll never see him again. That's also a possibility.
I think that depends on this trade. If we can't find a trade for him, I don't think he stays in the NBA.
No.
If we can find a trade and he can maybe.
But he got 17 minutes last game. I will see more of Johnny Davis in the rotation in these next couple of games, especially as Kuz works on this injury.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm just not confident that we're gonna find anything good for him.
No.
And I think the only reason he played 17 points this game is because we were losing by 20 in the fourth.
And he played a lot of garbage time. But he also, because he had a good game.
Well, he had a good game because he played the garbage time.
Yeah, hey, garbage time.
He wasn't playing super.
We saw him in the preseason.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Next couple games on the schedule, we got only 3 games next week. So, because we'll probably record Sunday, right? So we got Monday. Yep. So tomorrow when we're recording is Golden State, and then we go on the road for Memphis and Orlando. To me, that's 0-3, but I don't know. Maybe they'll sneak one out.
I agree. 0-3 to me. If they win a game, it's going to be a big upset. Obviously, going to watch all 3. We'll probably only be talking about the Warriors and Grizzlies next week because the Magic game is on Sunday, and it's like Sunday night.
You're right, yeah.
So I'm anticipating
0-2 by the time
maybe we can beat the Grizzlies because they've looked kind of weird to start the season. If
they've looked a lot better.
Have a bunch of people out.
Hey, if Jaws out, then we can. But Scottie Pippen's look good. And do you want to go into surprises with that? Because, or did you have something to say about the Grizzlies?
No, I was just gonna say they just have a lot of people injured this year again, so it's kind of like luck of the draw. If we get some big people out, we can maybe win. If they're at full strength, I don't see it. And like I said, mostly see 0-2. We'll see.
Yeah. Oh, did you want to read some of these Hawks comments too? Sorry, I keep interrupting.
Warriors. No, you're good. Yeah, we can cover some of it. We looked at the subreddit a bit and looked at the game thread of the Hawks to see some of their reactions. Most of them were just kind of mad at the team, so there wasn't too many good Wizards reactions, but we tried to find the best we could.
Yeah. Do you want to go? Do you want to read the first one? I'll read the next one. Then let's go.
Sure. The favorite one I saw, I just want to bring up, was the one where some dude said, "Quinn, for the love of God, stop making Trey guard Bilal," which I love because it's like it's been such a long time since we've had a young guy that was like, you want to get your bad on defense star off him so you can't hunt him, and it's like, all our young guys before wouldn't have made plays like that. Rui could have done it, but he would have just not. So it's good to see like other fan bases are starting to get scared of Bilal.
Yeah, as they should be. I mean, honestly, whoever offense on Trey, like, no offense, but the Hawks do not have the defense to be hiding Trey, unfortunately, right now.
No, they don't. That's part of the reason they're 1-4, whatever they are, 2-3.
Yeah, so bad start. I saw some Hawks comments. This guy said people deadass said this team was getting 50 wins. That's pretty funny because, like, who said that?
Yeah, right. Who thought the Hawks are getting 50 wins? We had them at like a 9 seed.
Yeah, like max. Not to turn this into a shit on the Hawks video, but that's crazy. And then this was my favorite, but this guy said, "Not tripping, not yet, but surely there's a better option than Trey shooting on that lanky fucker that owned him all night." What the fuck was that shit? Pass the fucking ball to this 6'9" forward that has 29 points, maybe? That's good. And I have no idea who he's talking about. I don't know if he was talking about Bilal. I don't know if he was talking about Sar. I'm gonna pretend he's talking about both.
I think he's, to me, that's definitely Bilal, because Bilal owned him game 2.
Yeah.
Or game 1. Because that was the game that Trey just couldn't score on Bilal.
He was like 2 and 15.
Every time he would pick and roll with Capelli, he'd be on Sar, and Sar would just guard him on the perimeter.
That's what's also so crazy about this defense is, like, they go into these pick and rolls with Bilal, and it just brings up Sar, and Sar can guard the perimeter, and Bilal can guard the paint. So it's not even like you're not even getting anything out of this switch.
No, and then when you pass the ball away, they can just reset.
It was my favorite when we saw that video of Tatum on Sar, and Sar did like a really good job on him, and Tatum hit the shot, of course. Everyone was like, "Oh wow, Sar actually guarded him really well there."
Yeah, there were like 2 or 3 shots where like I saw people gloating about it on Twitter, and people were like, "Nah, like Sar actually played great defense there. It's just there's not much you can do against that."
Yeah.
Like there was one where like he literally almost straight blocks the 3, and it goes right over his fingertips and straight in. I mean, what can you do about that? That's
good defense,
tough.
Better offense.
And it's like what we said with Sar. Just a quick comment about his defense is that we have noticed in all these games he's very quick to jump, and he's going to have to calm down a little bit and stay on his feet a bit more because he's so big. He doesn't really even need to jump most of the time.
No.
He just kind of just bring his arms up and tower over them, and there's not much they can do. But that's something that'll come with time.
I agree. You want to go towards some league surprises?
Yeah, for sure. I think we can both agree the biggest surprise so far has been the Milwaukee Bucks. We have a video that's aged very well that has 8 views or whatever. That's like, do the Milwaukee Bucks have a problem? Where we talked about how we didn't really see this team.
We talked about how they were getting old.
Yeah, they were getting old. We didn't really see them as a contender. They weren't making the proper moves they needed to around Giannis. Dame was a good start, but like, you can't just have Giannis and Dame and no role players. That's not how this works anymore. You need to have a fully balanced team.
Gary Trent was an absolute disaster last game. I think he was like 0 for 10 or something from 3.
Yep.
And then he also let up the game winner on Mitchell. And like, I saw people saying that was good defense. I saw Mitchell fumble the ball on his own 3 times, and then Gary Trent just not contest him.
Yeah, it's terrible defense. Like, if you watch it, it's like, oh, he gets his arm up there. There's not much you can do. But it's like, if you actually watch the play, he's running in front with his arm up after he shoots. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You got to stay in front of Mitchell, man. Like, it's Mitchell. You know he's taking this last shot.
Yeah.
But it's just so much of that. It's just so frustrating because it's like, Giannis will drop 40, Dame will drop like 20, and they'll lose by 20. And it's like, what can you do?
Yeah,
like,
it's tough.
Do you need Giannis and Dame to legitimately combine for 100 points a game to win a game? Like, what is going on?
I mean, you're relying on like Taurean Prince, which is a Doc Rivers specialty, by the way.
Also a Darvin Ham specialty.
Yeah, no, Darvin Ham. That's what I'm thinking. Not Doc Rivers. Probably a Doc Rivers specialty too.
Probably.
Gary Trent, who again was horrible. Bobby Portis, who has been really bad to start the season, and then like 37 Brook Lopez is your 3rd best player right now. I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah.
And it's tough because they haven't hit on like any draft picks.
Yep.
Not that they've had.
I do think it gets easier slightly when Middleton comes back, but Middleton's not the reason you're losing these games. And like, if he is the reason, that's bad.
Yeah.
He's gonna get injured. That's how Middleton works.
Yeah, that's how Middleton's been the last few years.
So I don't know. Just looking at this team, it's really, there's a lot of parallels between this team and Philly, where we have been very, very, very critical of Philly's roster for, very good reason. Where like Kelly Oubre is your 3rd best player or 4th best player isn't really going to cut it, especially when you have so many injury-prone stars. Where right now he's their 2nd best player, arguably. Him or Drummond, which is like, is that the spot you really want to be in?
2017 Pistons, I think.
Yeah, like, I don't know. They've looked really bad. I know there's no Embiid or Paul George, but watching that team, it's like, is it really going to change much? They lost by double digits to the Pistons. And
I mean, it will when Embiid's back, but it's more like, will Embiid play enough or Paul George play enough for it to, like, matter?
Yeah, that's what I'm more getting at. Because obviously it's going to change the product when they're on the court, and they're going to look way better because these are 2 all-NBA guys, arguably. I don't know about Paul George anymore, but Embiid is like a top 5 player still. Yeah. The problem just is they're not always available. Embiid's not playing back-to-backs ever again, he said. He's probably never going to win another award again in his career. He's prioritizing his health now, which I like it, but he's never had like these Kawhi-type injuries that keep coming back. It's always these like quote-unquote freak injuries that just crop up over and over again. So it's not like, he needs to rest up all the time for the beginning of the season and then he'll magically be okay. Like, he's always injured, Yeah. It's just kind of how he is now.
It's kind of hard. Like, Philly, like, you really have to save him for... And this is why did we even say this on the podcast? I don't remember. But before they signed Paul George, me and you kind of agreed that, like, they probably shouldn't go after Paul George. They should go after surrounding talent, surrounding Embiid and Maxey with talent, because we knew Embiid was going to get injured. We knew Paul George was probably going to get injured at some point during the season. That keeps them out. So you can't be running out this team where it's like Kelly Oubre, Andre Drummond, KJ Martin, and Caleb Martin, and like expect it to translate to wins. It's just tough. Like you needed to spend that money on like some good role players.
Yeah, like, I think we were eyeing, like, KCP,
Derrick Jones Jr.,
Clay, Derrick Jones Jr., like, those types of guys who, like, they can hit shots, they can play defense, they can kind of maybe make a play if they need to, but it's like, they're there for Maxey to dunk to get a quick shot if they need to.
Exactly.
They don't have those guys.
No, I mean you're relying a ton on Kelly Oubre, which is like a tough situation to be in 2024.
Yeah, Kelly Oubre right now is a good guy if you're bench, but for starting and as your like second offensive option, he can score, but it's gonna look ugly. It's not gonna be efficient. He's not gonna really defend. Like, I think that the Sixers fans got too comfortable because he had a really good year last year,
and like
abnormally good.
And in like a role that he's comfortable with, where he's like coming off the bench or maybe occasionally starting, and then just like getting open shots because Embiid is so good. But he's not really getting that anymore.
No, and I think I talked about this last night when we were watching the Clippers. It really just comes down to the Harden thing. They really fucked up that situation.
Yeah.
They really needed to get something for Harden because they committed so much to that, and they thought he was going to be a piece going forwards. And honestly, if they just kept him, does this team look worse with Harden than Paul George? I don't think so.
No, but
maybe
Harden,
eventually. But
Daryl Morey is a liar.
He's always more available. But Daryl Morey is a liar. I respect it.
I
like Daryl Morey too.
Other surprises, I think I'm gonna say the Suns being 5-1. I'm not like super surprised about that, but I'm more surprised about the way they're doing it, like with Tyus Jones. And I'm gonna tell this story about Ryan Dunn because it's hilarious. Because Ryan Dunn's been on a really hot streak to open up the season from 3, and he hit like 1 3 in like the 3rd game, and then the Suns announcers are like, "It's official. Throw out the college stats." Like, bro, it's game 3. What are you talking about?
They were so excited. He's 3 for 4. It's official. He's a shooter. What are you talking about, man?
Throw out the college stats. It's crazy.
So funny. Yeah, I gotta admit, I slept on that Ryan Dunn pick. You were really high on it, and I don't really know who he was. But he's really impressed me so far. Even like last game, his offense wasn't really there, but his defense was superb.
And Tyus Jones.
And I think Tyus Jones is the piece that a lot of people weren't considering. I drafted him in fantasy really late because people didn't realize that he was going to start, he was going to play meaningful minutes, and they didn't think about last year he had a 7.5 assist to turnover ratio. Like, he doesn't turn it over. He's really, really, really calm with the ball. He finds all these options, and that's just what they needed. They needed someone to, like, they didn't really have the guy they could just dump it to that can make a play. Like, they had someone they had 3 people they could dump it to score, but they didn't have a guy who was going to look to pass first. So I think just having that's really cleaned up the offense a ton. And it's also freed up, you know, the big
Book
three
and
to
Beal.
do what they're good at, you know? Like,
Book and Beal are
Beal
in
and
those
KD.
playmaker roles.
Yep.
They're not forced to in any way.
Yeah, exactly. And they're great secondary playmakers. I don't see either of them as like primary playmakers, which is why that Beal trade kind of confused me. But I think with the Tyus Jones acquisition, it's kind of coming into what they're wanting to do is really more clear now. I don't think they're going to do much, but maybe they're second round exits instead of first this year, you know?
Yeah, and you know, you never know. You have a team of Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. You know, the sky's kind of the limits if you can find those role players just around them.
Yeah. And Beal in that third option is great. Like, he's having a great year already. That's
perfect. I mean, we said this is where he should be at this stage in his career. It's like, but yeah, Tyus Jones. I mean, the Suns had like the worst fourth quarter clutch rating I think last year, and it's been a lot better to start the season. So, do you have any other surprises?
Yeah, I had a few. The Cavs it's a bit surprising. I'm not too surprised they're 7-0 right now. They've just looked very, very strong. To me, the surprising thing is how different they're looking with the new coach. Yeah. Kenny Atkinson, it's Kenny Atkinson, isn't it? Yeah, Kenny. He's making a big difference for them. Their offense looks way better than it did under Bickerstaff, which is funny because then if you look at Detroit, they look way better with Bickerstaff than they did with.
It's just funny calling a 1-5 team way better, but like it is true. They have looked way better.
Yeah. No, it's funny because they started last year objectively better, but I think they're going to be better this year. Yeah. And part of that is the defense looks great in Detroit. But going back to the Cavs, the wins they've had have been very good. They've played some very good teams, besides the Wizards and the Pistons. And I'm curious to see if they can keep this up all year. Yeah, the Bucks, but the Bucks played them really well last night, so I'll give them a pass.
No, I agree with the Cavs. I don't think they're not going to hold this 1 seed from Boston because Boston legitimately looks unbeatable. But
it's funny to say that when they just lost a game, but I know what you mean. They do.
Yeah,
they do.
I mean,
they do.
Who'd they lose to again?
The Pacers.
Oh yeah, the Pacers. The one team that I said could beat them.
Yeah, the Pacers just play so fast that Boston is best when they get to set the pace.
Yeah.
Which they usually do get to. And also, like, I've said it before, I think specifically in that Pacers matchup too, Porzingis is super important. Because he really unlocks a different way that they can play, where, like, Horford kind of does the same, but he's a little old, and Tillman and Cornette just aren't up to that par. Yeah. Where, like, the two-man Jaylen Brown Porzingis game is, like, almost unbeatable. It's crazy how you could just dump it to Porzingis and he just dunks or hits a three.
Shoots over him,
like, it lets them just really space a lot better. And then on defense, like, having that shot blocking guy that can just sit there and, like, but can also guard the perimeter, and, like, he can really guard 1 to 5. Not really 1, but, you know, nobody can really guard 1 to 5. I hate that saying. Cause
Bilal can.
True. Bilal's the exception. There are a few guys, but then it's like, Bam can guard 1 to 5.
Yeah,
but it's
LeBron
so
in his
people
prime,
just say
too.
Everyone can do it. Yeah, LeBron in his prime. Guys like that.
Other surprises, the Bulls and the Nets are both 3-3. The Bulls I kind of expected it to be 500. The Nets I didn't. And the Nets are getting a lot of contributions from guys you wouldn't really expect. I mean, Cam Thomas obviously has been amazing. I think he's averaged like 30 over the last 6 games. Maybe the first 5, and I don't know what he did this last game. But Ben Simmons has been really good actually. I feel like their defense is like picked up when Ben Simmons has been on the floor, which is not what I was expecting out of Ben Simmons, I guess. For him to actually be super impactful in winning games for this team. But yeah, Dorian Finney-Smith, they got a lot of, like, the Nets are in the same position they were last year, just without Bridges, where they got a lot of, like, good role players, but, like, that's kind of it.
Yeah,
but they're winning
really
games.
Surprised by the Nets. I think they're just kind of, I don't want to discount it and say they're just kind of hot, because Cam Thomas is really good. I like the Nets a lot, because to me it's an interesting case study, where, like, they took a role player and they just gave them a team.
Him and Dennis Schroeder. Like, it's like, you guys are going to lead the team. I mean, the Wizards did that too, and they suck.
Yeah, but it's like, it goes to show how many guys there are in this league that, given the opportunity, can do this.
Yeah.
So I like it. I like that they're doing well. It's interesting. I'm not anticipating it to really stick around for long. I think when teams really start getting serious and getting into the rhythm, it's going to be tough for them to get these wins.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these wins have been against, like, the Bucks, the Grizzlies, and, like, you know, the Bulls. It's the Bulls. The Bucks have been kind of shitty to start. The Grizzlies have been kind of hot and cold. That was probably the game they didn't have Ja. So once stuff really starts kicking into gear, I think they're going to fall.
No, me too.
For sure. Where I think the Bulls is kind of a different situation. I was higher on the Bulls this year.
Bulls are a weird team.
Which is, to me, I thought the Bulls were like a 10 seed or 9 seed or whatever. Because they don't want to tank. They're not quite bad enough to really be with, like, the Nets.
Because Zach LaVine has also been really good this year.
Yeah, Zach LaVine's been good. Vooch has been good. Giddey's been okay. Just kind of a weird team right now. I still think they should blow it up, but we all know they won't.
Yeah. All right, well, it's kind of our episode. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, not really. I'm excited for the Warriors game tomorrow. We'll see if Poole can have a revenge game, because he didn't really get one last year.
Don't forget about Dre.
Yeah, don't forget about Dre. You know, everyone's talking about Wemby. Everyone's talking about all the chat. You can't forget about Dre. But yeah, I'm just excited for the season, especially after the first 5 games. It looks like we're gonna be better than I thought. Like I said, definitely more fun to watch than last year.
And the West is going to be such a bloodbath. I was saying it yesterday. There are 13 teams that are legitimately fighting for the playoffs in the West, and that's kind of insane.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's going to be a fun season. It's a good season for us to be bad. There's a lot of really good teams. It's good because when we're starting to, when we're supposed to be good, all these teams are going to really be depleted and not have much to do.
Except OKC Thunder.
Yeah, besides the Thunder. But they're in the West, so that's different.
Yeah.
And the CBA will restrict all these good teams, so hopefully we'll be one of the only teams that's put in a position where we can be good during those years.
Look, man, give us a Mickey Mouse title. That's all I ask.
Yeah, that's all I ask. Give me one Bucks title. But that's way too far in the future. I'm just happy to be watching a team with no expectations that actually looks fun.
Yeah, I agree. With that being said, we'll see you next week to recap those last 2 games. And Gafford, take us out.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy DG. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Nothing major. We in the wizard bed tonight, baby. Let's get it, Gafford out.